You know, Mr. Burns, you're the richest guy I know. Way richer than Lenny.
No, yes. But I'd trade it all for a little more.
It's all about the money! It's all about the money!
Chill. Hello there, gang, and welcome to another episode of Displaying Model Behaviour, the Earth's mightiest action figure video podcast. So take off your pants, crack a beer, and let's talk toys. Let's talk about the Marvel Legends that I am going to have to be selling on over the next few days. Why? Well, because when the irresistible force meets the immovable object, that being money and space, something's got to give, and in this case, I have to go out with the old and in with the new. New action figures are always being released, so we got to sell some of our nearest and dearest in order to afford the bright, shiny new toys. These are the figures I'm going to sell, these are the reasons why, and if you want to buy any of them, you can go to my Facebook group, Displaying Model Behaviour. This isn't like a commercial video, but that's the first thing people always ask is, where can we buy them? Well, that's where you can buy them. Check the link in the description below. So without further ado, these are the toys I'm selling, and here's why. And here we go. So here we are, starting off with Iron Fist. And Iron Fist is kind of hard to come by, so why am I letting him go? Because it's a modern version of Iron Fist, whereas I really am holding out for a classic Iron Fist with the big pop collar and the bare chest. You know they're going to do that one of these days, and when they do, I will snap him up. In the meantime, though, I don't have too much call for this guy, even though he's kind of cool. I do love the dirtied up knuckle wraps. They look really awesome. But still, I want to sell him on because I'm not really using him. Then Cap Wolf. No surprise as to why this guy's going. I mean, come on, we've just got the most incredible Captain America figure. Absolutely amazing. That 20th anniversary, mwah, chef's kiss. But because of that, Cap Wolf is, well, he's kind of surplus to requirements, really. Although, I gotta say, I do love how goofy he is with the ridiculous wolf face. That's a really fun touch, but only for a Captain America completist. Now, Taskmaster. Oh, gee, this one's kind of tough, which to be honest is why I've somewhat priced him accordingly, because I don't know if I want to part with him, because we don't have any other Taskmaster 616 figures out there in the Legends line, and I don't know if we're going to get another one anytime soon, but I'm just not feeling the love for him. Maybe it's the Bucky Cap mold, I don't know. Skull faces are always going to be badass, but he's just not doing it for me. Speaking of not doing it for me, the Hobgoblin Bath, the Phil Urich Hobgoblin. I love my goblins, and I really love the story of Phil Urich, like that fall from grace, going from a good guy to a bad guy. But the Bath, I just don't really feel it. The wings can't be moved or articulated, so he takes up a lot of space, and he feels a little, just, I don't know, I don't feel much toyetic joy with this figure. I'm really torn though, because of course he is a goblin, and I do love my goblins, but I'm not a goblin completist either. So I think for the right price, he might have to go. Now this is one I'm mega, oh my god, even when I'm looking at him, I'm thinking, do I really want to sell the Chameleon? But the fact of the matter is, he's not a great figure. Now that we have a J. Jonah Jameson figure and a Hammerhead figure, I feel like we need a new, better Chameleon. I hate that suit body with the terrible feet that don't stand up. It's just, I really just don't like it. So when I see him, I'm like, yes, you're the Chameleon. Yes, you're an iconic Spider-Man villain, but I really don't like you. But still, I priced him accordingly because I don't know if I want to get rid of him. Scorpion, though. I feel like we're going to get a new one. There are rumors and rumblings that we're going to get a new Scorpion, and I'd like a bigger one with the flesh tones on the face. I know that the green face is actually perfectly comic accurate. Doesn't mean I gotta like it though, and I genuinely don't, though he does have, oh my goodness, the bendy wire in the tail, such a rare thing for Hasbro to do. So there's a lot going for him, but I just feel that we might see a new one sooner, and I want to give that a try. Also, he's got a fisted hand and an open hand. I don't like those being the only options. Quasar. This was absolutely a figure that I picked up. Why? because all of my pre-orders were delayed and I was feeling a little bit spendy. So I was like, right, I can't take it anymore. I gotta part with some money. I'm getting Galactus, so let's get a cosmic spacefaring type person to go in that display. And then I realized, oh yeah, displays require space. And that's when I figured, you know what, I've never read a single comic with Quasar in it in my entire life, and I'm not about to start now. So I'm afraid, my friend, you got to go. Sunspot, I am filing down my X-Men display. There was a short time about a year ago, maybe a little bit longer, where I was thinking, you know what, I'm gonna get all the X-Men teams, and it'll be glorious. I'll get X-Force, X-Factor, all the X's. And then I realized, wow, these take up a lot of space, and some of these figures, they're not great. Sunspot is actually quite a nice one. I really like all the black going on there. It's a very unique sort of look, but still, I don't really care too much about the character, so he can go. A very recent one now. Well, I'm getting double vision here, but there you go. Enjoy. It's Psycho Man. Do I need Psycho Man? No. He came with the Fantastic Four retro wave, and that whole wave for me is a little bit snake bit, to be honest. So I'm not really feeling the love. He feels very plasticky in hand. Doesn't really do a huge amount for me. It just feels kind of cheap to me. Not much shading, not much paint work. I'm not going to be too sad to let him go. He's chunky, but that's all he's got going for him. Now this is one I am afraid I might regret. Vintage Punisher. He's a beautiful figure. I dig this Frank Castle. He's the iconic, perfect, original look. His only problem is that Hasbro did an even more amazing deluxe Riders Punisher. I only need one version of Frank Castle. Maybe it should be the classic one, but then I don't want to sell the deluxe either, because he's got such a fantastic modern face sculpt, grim and gritty. I'm really torn by this guy. Then Agent Anti-Venom. Agent Anti-Venom, I think, as a figure, pops off the shelf beautifully with the white and the black, the little silver highlights, really lovely. Normally under any circumstances or other circumstances I would keep him because I do love the character, but having said that, I just want to have the more classic Spider-Man Rogues Gallery villains, pretty much going up to the year 2000, I would say. That's where I sort of want to do my cutoff point and just get the best versions of the characters up to there. So Agent Anti-Venom doesn't really make the cut. Even though I like him, there's not the nostalgic factor making me want to keep him. Now, Black Panther, T'Challa. This is one who's in a relatively high demand from that Avengers retro wave. For me, I am just not a big Black Panther guy. I like the character as much as anyone, really, but I haven't read any solo Black Panther comics, and I don't feel that much of a desperate connection to him. I've been paring down my Avengers to just the real, absolute, core, essential team, and because of that, I don't really need any of the more sort of, dare I say, B-list kind of characters. Not that he's a B-list superhero, but on the Avengers roster, he's not one of the main ones. And Black Ant. This is a funny character. I like him as a character, but that's about it. The figure itself is just the skinny pizza Spidey body, and he's essentially just a repainted Ant-Man, which is, in fairness, pretty much what the character looks like. But besides having a few amusing team-ups with Taskmaster, I'm kind of not finding many reasons to keep him or justify keeping him on the shelf. And then we've got the High Evolutionary. Really don't care for this figure at all. The same as Psycho Man. Feels like just a lot of plain plastic. It feels kind of cheap in my hand. Now this is sort of a catch-22 because the High Evolutionary in the comics, there's not much color going on there. He really is just pink and silver. But unfortunately, when that's translated into three-dimensional action figure form, it doesn't really do much for me. And then the extra little bits of paint on there, like the little circular pieces of silver, they actually are a little bit splodged and blodged, so I don't really love him. Though this one might be a heartbreaker. Frogman. He is. He's such a good figure. I really have a lot of love for him. So goofy, so wacky, so ridiculous. But to say that he's an iconic character or A-list or anything like that, I mean, no. I mean, due purely to the context of what the character is. Of course he's not A-list. He's a ridiculous jobber and he's a fun one. But I can't really justify having him on the shelf when I just want to go for the more nostalgic ones that really ring true for me. I can't keep Frogman. Black Tom Cassidy, the stick-waving diddler. Why did I buy this guy originally? Because I kind of got challenged to, and someone said like, look, take this money, buy the damn figure, alright? And I did buy the figure. But now he has adorned my shelf for the best part of a year, and it's time to find a new home for him. Because the problem is, with space being an issue, he would just get put into a plastic Tupperware bin, and I don't want that. I want this ridiculous character on someone's shelf where he's going to be appreciated. Speaking of appreciated, or not so much, we have Cannonball. Boy, am I even going to be able to give this figure away? I doubt it, but still, I'm going to put him up there. Maybe someone wants the top half for fodder, or they're going to do some crazy blast effect or something. The fact that we've got him re-released in the X-Force 3-pack with Domino and Richter with legs as well means it's going to be pretty difficult for someone to justify picking this guy up. But still, for a brief time, he was essential to my X-Force display, so there you go. And Polaris, you can see that we're going in this kind of continuing theme of thinning down the X-Men teams. It's really just the 90s Jim Lee ones that I really want to keep my hands on. So Polaris, I do love the bright green broccoli hair. You know, that's super fun. But besides that, I don't have much of a call for her because she is in full-on yellow and blue classic 90s X-Factor, which when paired up with the next figure in the 2-pack that they came in, they look great. And again, I love that nostalgic 90s feel. I'll continue this going into Havok here. I love the nostalgic 90s feel, but I wasn't a huge reader of X Factor specifically during this time. So I feel that to keep these two on the shelves, these two could actually possibly squeak into that Jim Lee collection because you don't have to have them with the full X Factor team. They could just be dropping by the X Mansion, you know, hanging out, playing softball, doing whatever they do there. But honestly, when space and money comes down to it as a factor, I'm going to have to let them go. Speed Demon now, a fun, silly character, but not one who is essential to Spider-Man. He pops up a few times, he's in the Superior Foes of Spider-Man, but honestly, I can't remember any classic stories where he pushes Spidey to his limit and friends become enemies, enemies become friends, and everyone ends up a better person. Nah, he's just Speed Demon doing his thing. Definitely a D-tier villain. I do love the costume though. The graphic design, he looks like an energy drink, basically, with the red and the black and the lightning bolts, that's what I'm trying to say. But that's not enough to save him. Caliban. This was a funny one because, yes, it's a cool, big, chunky Build-A-Figure, but it's only in his Age of Apocalypse, not Age of Apocalypse, you know what I'm saying, Horseman of Apocalypse. It's in that color scheme and design, so he doesn't really fit with the X-Force group that I wanted to have him with. I stumbled there because I was thinking, X-Force, X-Factor, which one was it? It was X-Force, wasn't it? So if he was in the classic costume and I was getting X-Force, that'd be great, but I'm not, and he isn't, so bye. Then Iron Man 2020. Actually, a super cool Iron Man figure. I've dug having this guy on my shelf with all the accessories, the boot jets and the flames. He's super cool, but I don't have room for a Hall of Armor. I did like posing him with the black costume Spider-Man because that was from a very iconic sort of issue. Gosh, I'm using the iconic word so much, but it's true. So even though I've enjoyed having him on the shelf, I don't need him for any essential kind of purposes, so I'll find him a new home. And this one, exactly the same reasons as Iron Man 2020, and similarly, it's difficult to let go because Stealth Iron Man, I love the look of this guy. The color, that midnight shade they've gone, then with the little red highlights. Oh my god! Looks so cool, but I just don't have a Hall of Armor. I've got nowhere to put him. And someone needs to be showing this guy off because what I thought was just a wave filler of a figure, when I got him in hand, I realized, oh no, this guy's really pretty. Speaking of pretty, look at this dude's face. You've been thunderstruck! Thunderstrike, totally cool and reminds me so much of the comics cover that he's in, like he's just jumped out of this 90s comic book cover. I really dig that, but I'm scaling down the Avengers, so I don't need my extra teams, extra waves like the B, C, D tier Avengers. No offense to Thunderstrike, but he kind of falls into that category. And Nuke. I think one of the better Marvel Legends that they've done, especially from that era. The fact that he's so big and chunky with so many accessories as well. 2 different heads that are completely different, with the cool Terminator head as well, with the ripped away flesh. You got the removable knife, the gun. A really, really cool figure. And I pilfered a spare jacket of his to go on my crossbones. Instantly improves that figure too. But still, I don't have a huge call to keep Nuke because he's not really one that I'm that familiar with. And now Storm, the weather goddess. Yeah, you can thank Mafex for this one. Mafex just announced a super duper white costume Storm. And I do like this black one because she actually, this is so nerdy, she wore this black costume in a standalone story where the X-Men teamed up with Ben Reilly, Spider-Man. And me being the big mark that I am, wanted to have that represented. But again, I can't really justify keeping the whole figure just for that. Now, a figure who is well and truly a Spider-Man character, Spider-Man / Venom, is Poison. But I mean a totally modern, very, very recent over the last couple of years character, and one that I don't know if we'll ever really see again. I feel like the Poisons were sort of one and done. They had their little push in the Marvel Universe, and I feel like they might not be revisiting them anytime soon. So it was a fun enough story with quite a cool design, but it's very modern Spider-Man, and really for my collection, I don't feel like I need that. I gotta admit though, Paladin had me torn because he's part of Silver Sable's Wild Pack. He turned up in a few Spider-Man issues in the mid-90s, so I do have that kind of connection to him. And he's quite a nice figure with his dual-wielding pistols and the blade body there. I think a lot of customizers love that sort of generic trooper kind of look. But still, I don't really have any fond memories in particular of Paladin, so even though to be a completionist with the Wild Pack it would be good, I don't think I need to be too beholden to him. Then going back to the X-Men cull. Yes, gosh, you should call me Graydon Creed because I am just culling all the mutants. And Warpath is one of them. A figure that, even though he's big and chunky, which is great, you can't really do much with him. With his hair, you can't really move his head around. Then with his shoulder pads, you can't really move his arms around. So there's not much posing options out there. And since I haven't got a team to pose him with, he's really kind of surplus to requirements. No wonder he looks so sad. Modular Iron Man. This was a huge disappointment. Why? Because this figure is busted. I'm going to sell him super cheap and make it very clear to anyone that, like, hey, this figure has a duff shoulder, which you can't really move properly, and his legs are super wobbly, and his neck joint is overly stiff, and for a figure that I was really looking forward to, so disappointed. So disappointed. But I'm not going to buy him again because then Hasbro win. And Shatterstar, continuing the mutant apocalypse that I'm currently waging on my shelves. This is a figure who's actually, he's a little loosey-goosey in the torso, but still looks nice. I think that the head sculpt with the, it's not really armor, is it? But his head padding, I guess it's an unusual, unique kind of look. So as an action figure on the shelf, he's kind of funky. He's kind of cool. But I don't have a Mojo-verse either. So without that and without X-Force, look, he can't even stand up. Kang. This is a figure that might become more expensive later when Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania comes out. And we will have Kang as a fully fledged big bad in the MCU. We got a little bit of Kang. We got a little soupçon, a little hors d'oeuvre of Kang in the Loki TV show, but soon we'll get him full on proper. This figure though, even though there's nice tooling on it, lots of original sculpt and all that kind of thing, it just doesn't do anything for me. I haven't read many Kang stories, and I just feel like the green's kind of ugly, the purple's kind of flat. I just don't get anything from having him on my shelf. Speaking of which, Venom Miles, get in the bin, pal. What a worthless figure this was. And I gave out about him when I first purchased him as well. Damn you, Venom Wave. I know the Build-A-Figure was great, but we then had to buy this guy as part and parcel. And he just doesn't have any extras, no hands, no extra heads, nothing. Not even based on a comic book figure. That's the most egregious thing. We got like a Carnage Miles later on in the Absolute Carnage story. This is based off the cartoon, I think. And honestly, don't ever need him. Vault Guardsman, another one from a snake bit wave of figures that I had some serious problems with. This dude, he's got lots of paint detailing that I feel like it just feels a bit cheap, to be honest. And also his feet, I think these are the same feet that Retro Loki comes on. And stop me if I'm wrong, but I swear they're kind of curved on the underneath. It's so difficult to get him to stand up. You would have thought a big, heavy-set, flat-footed character like this would stand easily. Nah, really, really difficult. So frustrating. Then we have Firestar, and Firestar, I'm torn about, to be honest. I don't like the look of her. I think her face, either face, she came with two heads, both of which had derpy expressions. I kind of want to get rid of her, but then again, we are building up the new Warriors and Speedball is coming out, so she does fit in there and she makes up the team, so maybe I should keep her, but man, I wish we had a 90s Firestar with the black leather jacket and the much cooler costume. In the meantime, this one, I just don't really care too much for her. And Forge. Now, he, was so close to making the cut for the Jim Lee X-Men, and I think a lot of X-Men purists would say that he should do. I mean, he appears with the main core team a lot, but still my most fond memories are more from the cartoon, which he doesn't pop up in quite so much. He does every now and then, normally with Bishop in the future, I think. But even though this Forge is kind of fun, it is still a question of space, and I think that outside of the main team, he's gonna have to go. And Toxin, this is tough. You see, I was so pleased to get Toxin because he's a big, amazing, monstrous symbiote. So much going on there, but also because of that, boy, does he take up a lot of space. I really loved this appeal, this approach is what I'm trying to say, to the character with just so much gnarly sculpting and ugly gruesomeness going on. There is a lot to love, but not so much that I want to justify keeping him. I want to go more classic Spider-Man, so no. And Lady Beetle. I'm a big fan of the Superior Foes of Spider-Man. I thought that was a great series, and they made her a cool character. But again, she's got the curse of being a modern figure. If I gotta be brutal, and I'm gonna make my 2000 kind of cutoff point, that means that even though she's fun and funky, she's not making the cut. And back to Storm again, which is kind of a tease. I think actually I just made the mistake of doing her twice. Yeah, that's totally what I did. But still, it's a different one now. It's the white version. Although I'm selling her really, really cheap just because I ripped her cloak. Because I'm a completely clumsy oaf who just got these ridiculous big bear paws that just rip through things. So I'll make it very clear, and I don't even know if anyone would want to pick her up, but I know that white costume Storm is quite hard to come by now. So maybe someone will want to buy her with a needle and thread. And Magneto. This is obviously from the Family Matters 3-pack, although he has the head from the black costume Magneto. So that's a little bonus. But now that I've got the Mezco Magneto, I don't think I need the extra Jim Lee one. I think that just one red costume with the purple cape Magneto, that's all I need for the collection. So he's a cool little figure actually, and the unmasked head I think is pretty wicked. But still, he's surplus to requirements. And keeping it in the family, are they still family or has that been retconned? I can't remember if they retconned the retcon. Either way, Quicksilver is another one of those B-tier Avengers / X-Factor characters who is fine as a figure but nothing to get too excited about. Therefore, I'm quite happy to part ways with him and give him to someone who's really collecting either one of those teams. And then, yeah, they can give him a good home in either place, but I don't really need him. And that does it for the list of Marvel Legends that I'll soon be saying a tearful goodbye to. It's not that I don't love them, but just something's gotta give. And in this case, it's these fellas on the chopping block. But I'm gonna miss them. They've served me well, and hopefully they'll find some good homes. So folks, thanks very much for watching. If you want to purchase some of them, you can go over to the Facebook group, check the link in the description below. I do ship to America, although honestly, with the cost of shipping and import taxes and all that jazz, it's really not worth it. You'd be better off going to Evil Bay and purchasing from someone on there. But hey, I like to put the option out there, otherwise people are like, well, what's the problem? You don't want to ship to America? No, I do. It's just not going to work out too well. Trust me, I've tried. So folks, thanks very much for watching, and until next time, keep displaying model behavior.
Big time